Hello, welcome to Casual Veteran Gamer, and in the video today we're exploring a build sent in by a viewer, Will H. I'm not going to go through the exact build he showed me, but well, I'll show you what I like about it. So as for the race, it doesn't really matter as long as the race you choose has dexterity +2, because when we come to ability points, we want dexterity to be at 17. I would say constitution should be 14. Then you can change the other stats as you wish. I like having a higher strength on my fighters so they can jump further and they're more likely to push. Better wood elf would be good with extra movement speed, high elf if you want a cantrip, whatever you want. Class is fighter, and as the class passive, pick defense, which gives you a +1 armor class while wearing armor, which you will be. The skills, I would recommend acrobatics and athletics. These are good to help you shove and resist being shoved. For the background, this doesn't matter so much. I picked noble, but it could really be anything. And that's it for the basic build. I'm going to go through the levels very quickly. At level 2, there is nothing to choose. You just get more hit points and you get action surge. At level 3, we get the big choice for fighters, which is either Battlemaster or Eldritch Knight currently. I would pick Battlemaster for this, mainly for riposte, because the idea is if this character does get targeted, then they will get an attack back. Otherwise, pick whatever you want. Menacing attack is always good. Disarming attack, pushing attack, well, whatever you like. Maybe I'll go for pushing attack. Also, at this point, Drows get Fairy Fire, which is pretty cool. And at level 4, now, Will H, the person who sent this in, recommended Defensive Duelist, which says when you are attacked with a melee attack, you use your reaction to increase your armor class by 2, potentially causing this attack to miss. And this puts up the armor class by 2 for the whole of the round until your next turn, which isn't quite how it's supposed to work, but it's just kind of how it does work currently in the game. I mean, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to go with Dexterity +2. I want to get Dexterity up to 20. So if you take down the hag and you let her live and let her take Marina, you take the power. You get the choice of which hair you want. Take the dexterity hair. So once you've chosen the dexterity hair and use it on the fighter, who I don't have an appropriate name for, the dexterity goes up to 20. Now this is amazing because the initiative is +5. Armor class is currently 22, and you know, I'm going to go through the items now. I haven't quite finished all the items on the character yet. I do have a couple of things already that I would say are necessary. One is the studded leather armor +1, which is from the Zhentarim trader. If you bring back the shipment, the strong box they've got, bring it back unopened, and they let you have access to a few extra items, this being one of them. So the base armor class is 13 +5. You also definitely want the Absolute's Warboard, so you do need to get branded. If you don't want to get branded, this is not the build for you. And since we're branded, we may as well take the Gloves of Power. I've also already picked up the Amulet of Misty Step from Minotaur, because that's just good for anyone, and a fighter might want to get up close. And I've also given her Crusher's Ring, but this could go on anybody, to be honest. As for the helmet, I mean, I've currently got her with the Warped Headband of Intellect, but a helmet will do, and in fact, I might just give her the Helmet of Grit. As for weapons, I've currently got a Scimitar +1, but I am going to go and get her a Rapier +1 in the end. And then for ranged weapons, I like dual wielding hand crossbows. I absolutely love it, especially with the Gloves of Power and the Helmet of Grit. But if you want to have a heavy crossbow +1, that's also a good choice, because with the high dexterity at 20, she's got a very good chance to hit and also does a very decent amount of damage. Now, the viewer who came up with this build also suggested getting the Bracing Band, which is something we now get from Grimforge. Before patch 6, we used to be able to find it by the Harpies, but not anymore. What that does is when you shove during a turn, you get +1 AC for that turn, which is another good reason to have the Helmet of Grit. And if you were to go to Grimforge to go and get the Bracing Band, I would also suggest going to get Nia's Rapier, because that does extra damage. I currently don't like to include items from Grimforge or deep into the Underdark, because by that point, most of the time, we're kind of nearing the end of the game, as it currently stands, and the end of early access. So I try to avoid items from down in the Underdark, but they would be better than what I'm going to show you. The last thing we need to do to make this character have a very high armor class is cast Shield of Faith on her. And currently what I've done is I equipped Will with Sword of Justice from Tyr and got him to cast Shield of Faith using the sword. And if you're feeling a bit cheeky, what we can do is send Will back to camp. It doesn't have to be Will. Off Will goes, and we've still got Shield of Faith. So then you can go to camp and pick up anybody you want. I wouldn't suggest that you have to do this. The Sword of Tyr can be used once per battle. Let's pick up Gale, shall we? Now, the reason that the armor class is 25 is that the Absolute's Warboard, considering she is branded, gives +2 from being a shield, and then the wearer of this item gains the word of the Absolute, armor class +2, and then we can cast Shield of Faith on top. Now, it's unclear whether this is a bug or a feature working as intended or not, whether this is supposed to be a shield that gives +4 armor class, which can then stack with Shield of Faith. If it's not, then the armor class is 23, which is still very respectable. And I went with dexterity of 20 because this 25 is for every single attack coming against you. It can be for ranged attacks, because Defensive Duelist only works when the attack coming in is melee, whereas this will work against spell attack rolls and ranged attack rolls, but we also get the added bonus of having the higher initiative, higher dexterity saving throws, and higher attack and damage bonuses for ranged and finesse weapons, which is why the fighter should be wearing a finesse weapon. I haven't been able to find a rapier +1. The load that I've done this on has cleared out the goblin camp already and kind of running out of traders, but a rapier +1 would be better. There is one downside to having a character with a high armor class, is that they tend to get attacked less because the AI kind of knows that they've got a high armor class, they've got a low chance to hit them. So if you really want them to be a kind of a tank, you have to run them in ahead. Also, something I've done for this character, which I very rarely do, is actually get the tadpole power, which is psionic pull. So once per short rest, they can pull one creature or object towards them. And this can help kind of with the tanking business, as can Misty Step. So hopefully with Misty Step and Sonic Pool, they can kind of change the position of everyone around the battlefield if needed, because this Sonic Pool can be against an ally as well. It doesn't have to be an enemy. Quite funny here. It says if the target dies before the spell ends, you can use a bonus action to hex a new creature. And something else you can do if you've got a sorcerer or wizard in your party is cast Enlarge Reduce. Oh no, not Reduce. Cast Enlarge Reduce onto the fighter. This just helps them do a bit more damage. So when it comes to their turn, one thing I'd say you should always try and do is get in the face of the enemy. Make sure you have Riposte turned on. And now, because we've got a +1 weapon and +5 dexterity, you've got an 80% chance to hit, and that's without any advantage. She could, you know, I don't see any reason not to. I'm going to hide. And then since we've got such a high chance to hit, I would say definitely use one of the Battle Master maneuvers. The only downside, well, it's not really a downside. One thing to watch out for this build is the superiority dice, because you can get through them very, very quickly. Because if Riposte goes off, then that uses the superiority dice. I've just used one. You replenish them every short rest, so it's not like the end of the world or anything. So here I've put the fighter up front. Everyone else is going to be using ranged attacks. And this is one of the downsides. Yeah. One of the downsides of the build is, wow, great, high armor class, 25, yeah. But then their saving throws are bad, their wisdom saving throws are bad, which could be an argument for having 14 in wisdom rather than strength. I've finally broken the concentration of the Redcap that had cast Hold Person up there. And with a fighter with a high armor class and riposte, what you can try and do is actually force an opportunity attack, which allows you to take an attack on your turn without using an action or bonus action. It does use up your reaction. And because of Bless and a +1 bonus and a +5 from the dexterity, we've got a 90% chance to hit. And that's even without advantage. So hopefully this red cap now won't go and attack anyone else, because enemies don't tend to provoke opportunity attacks for free. But I do now have this red cap who can attack the other party members. But like I said, since the character can attack from range, it will attack character within range with the lowest armor class. This is why the fighter here didn't get targeted. So when we're down to 1-on-1, this fighter is absolutely brilliant. It'll be good in a duel, except against someone who can cast Hold Person. So what I'm going to do is send in the fighter by herself. Got fire here, so let's dip our weapon. So she's going to be the focus of attention. And I don't see her being hit very much. Although it is 6-on-1. Great thing about this sort of high AC build is you don't really need to run away or anything. You don't need to hide. The whole point is being up in the enemy's face and just trying to kill them. Now I know this has disadvantage, but you can't attack with her offhand otherwise. Also it helps when they're all surprised. So just focus on one person at a time. And there shouldn't be any problems. Oh, that'll hurt. Surface effects will get us, because there's nothing to resist that, unless you're resistant to poison. Also, one other downside to this build is there's no built-in area of effect. You can use items, you know, we've got Alchemist Fire, we've got Void Bulbs, Spike Bulbs, you can maybe use a scroll if you wanted, but by herself, she's not going to be able to do area of effects. There's a riposte, there we are, free hit, free kill. And she's got disadvantage on her attacks at the moment. Let's just check, is her weapon set on fire? Nope. So we may as well use this opportunity to do that. I could maybe have dipped it in the poison. I didn't check that. And it doesn't matter. Ooh, missed because I got disadvantage, sadly. But that poison will go away soon enough, hopefully. No. Unfortunately, the riposte used up a superiority dice. But miss, right? What's their ranged attack? They're going to have to get very high numbers to be able to hit. But considering he's only got a he's got a +5, so he needs a 20. At this point, a helmet might be better than having the Helmet of Grit, so that if they do hit, they don't do as much damage. It doesn't matter so much. Alright, all the superiority dice are gone. That's the one, like I said, the one thing to be wary of. Maybe you want to turn this off in a situation where there's lots of people attacking at once. If he wants to take the offhand attack, we can take this offhand attack. If you walk away, he's not likely to get hit. And there's always a chance we're going to get Bane on the enemy. Eventually, they will get a critical hit, though. I mean... Oh, there's the critical hit I was talking about. This is why having a helmet would definitely be helpful. But this will be fine. Our fighter, we've got second wind, and we've got action surge, which I haven't used up yet. And I've got an extra bonus action now because of the helmet of grit. Let's try and make this guy bleed. I could use a potion of speed. I could misty step away. I should probably have used this first. I was just thinking another critical hit could kill me. But thankfully I'm not completely solo. I could go and get my buddies. And now he's got a dash to catch up. Ooh dear. So not all is good in the world. Well, isn't that embarrassing? Alright, so I'm going to go do one last fight. I've taken the long rest since the last fight, so I don't have Shield of Faith going anymore from Tyr's sword. I'm just going to take the simple way out and just use Shadowheart here to cast Shield of Faith. So what I'm going to try this time is sending in the fighter with the high armor class, while with everyone else up here trying to attack from afar. I have this time equipped the fighter with the helmet, or a helmet, which helps protect against critical hits.
Shouldn't have made me your enemy.
So I've tried to make the fighter the target. But I need to try and make sure that she gets in there quickly. Otherwise they will jump up to here to attack my friends. So one good way of doing that is Misty Step. And just start wailing away. So I'm going to spend one more turn. Just here. I'll leave Riposte on. Just here. So they both go after her. And then, at this point, we can introduce the rest of the party. Now, it's quite far away. Don't know if this will work. But we can shoot. And everyone else is in the fight. And she can continue working on the Minotaurs. I would say at this point, it would be a good chance to use Action Surge. I'll try and use off balance on this Minotaur later. So it now has advantage. There we are. And then the rest of the party can just focus on this Minotaur. Perhaps a Cloud of Daggers. Get some continuous damage going. So let's take a shot. Presumably, yeah, it will stay here. It'll get out the Cloud of Daggers, which is understandable. Minotaur made a saving throw against empty. Right. I'm scared by shadows and standing right next to him. What this character can do, because they are a drow, one of two things. Could cast Fairy Fire. She's not concentrating on anything. Let's try that. Make sure you don't put it on yourself, though. Just kind of want to prove that this will work out fine. But again, we're using up the superiority dice very quickly. I don't think we need Riposte on anymore. Let's try Bleed. So it's now bleeding. Don't want to get so close that it encourages the Minotaur to go after the other characters. Let's try a... let's try Acid. Now, I don't want to put it onto the Minotaur because the fight will be inside it. But it now has its armor class lowered by 2. I wonder... we can try sneak attacks now. Now, I turned off Riposte, so there wasn't an attack there, but maybe go for menacing attack. Yeah, it's pretty messed up now. So yeah, this is like... This fight's basically nothing with this fighter up front. Try Rare Frost, slow it down. And knock it prone even. Brilliant. Sneak attack. Yeah, this is just... Minotaur's got no chance. Now this is the Minotaur that's got resistance to slashing damage, which is a bit annoying. Had the Minotaur gone past, I would have used Sonic Pull. In fact, what I'll try... Yeah. There's an offhand attack. There's a small chance it will kill it. Ah, perfect. There we are. With a little bit of setup, a little bit of preparation, most fights will be particularly easy. Oh, watch out, Gale. Easy against enemies that are at least martial or melee based. Anything that's ranged will take a bit longer, but still not too much of a problem. Magic user enemies might be a bit more difficult to contend with, where if they use any spells that force saving throws. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. That'll be it for now. Let me know what you think of this build. Thank you to Will H for coming up with this build and informing us. I hadn't realized that Absolute's Warboard kind of gave us extra armor class on top of what we would normally have. And this 25 just doesn't go down. It stays at 25. If you made it this far, please do consider subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cold